Are we rolling? We're rolling. John chat. Philip says congrats. I think the 30,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Anybody who's not subscribed, it would be awesome if you'd subscribe. Click the little bell. If you're watching this after it was live, click the little bell and subscribe. That helps us a lot. But yeah, this is a 30,000 subscriber celebration. It's been excellent. An excellent year. John says ahoy, and John and I have been corresponding about what we're going to keep it secret, but it's going to be cool, John. iKill says happy new year. Michael says yo Chris. John says congrats. TJ says I saw the possum water, so I clicked. It's possum water brand vodka is more like it. Is it? My lighting is weird today, right? It's weird. It's the same lighting setup I always have. I got lights here. I got windows here. I got LA behind me. I don't know. Seems weird, but what are you gonna do? Mike says congrats. Juice says happy Thursday, Harris. Happy Thursday, Juice. Brojo says, do you think Alvin Kamara plays this week? They say he practiced today. Well, you now know everything I know, and you now know everything everybody in this business knows. Well, we only all know the same thing, unfortunately, so I don't have any way of telling you. I think if he's active, I would probably start him, but otherwise, I don't have much inside information, nor does anybody. They ain't gonna tell us that. Alan says, Harris, congrats, brah. Dylan says, hi, Chris. Should I trade Carson and Ty Johnson for Zeke Elliott? I would say sure. I mean, I like the ponies for a horse. Carson's been really, really good. Ty Johnson has sort of found money, and we don't really know what he is yet. Is there a world where that backfires on you? Sure, there's a world. Yeah, there definitely is. But I think most times, as long as you can withstand this week, you'd be out 2 running backs, right? Because there's no Zeke this weekend. But I think maybe you win that trade. Will says, I have Zeke and I have Kerryon Johnson, so I had to trade for running backs. I did Hilton for Montgomery and Mixon. Thoughts? So my thoughts are, okay, you took risks. You took a big risk on Mixon. He's got to bounce back for that to be worth it. Hilton is better than those guys right now, but you had to take a risk. And generally speaking, the question that goes, hey, I already did this thing. What do you think? Like, I totally understand why you would ask it, and I would probably feel the same way. I would ask it too, but in the end, it doesn't matter what I think anymore. You did it, and frankly, fortune favors the bold. Pliny the Elder, I believe, fortune favors the bold. Although he may have said that as Mount Vesuvius was erupting and he was about to be killed. So maybe we shouldn't say that statement anymore. But you already did it. But good luck. I hope it works. Let's see. Brushing for Greatness says, yo, I called it on Corey Davis and I started him. Nice job. Well done. Rudd says, congrats on the subscribers. I was in the first 1,000. Thank you, Rudd. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, somebody says the lighting is weird. It's like I'm blue or something. It's very strange. There's nothing different in here. Maybe it's the time of year? I don't know. I'm like dark and gray and blue and I don't know. Strange. But I guess we will just live with it. Is what I'm going to say. Mr. Justin says, hey, Chris. Ian says, congrats on the 30K. You're the man. Thank you very much, Ian. Dustin said, love the podcast. First time popping into the live stream. Oh, boy. Good luck. I mean, the deal is basically I'm going to do my best to answer questions, but there's a lot of questions and I can never get to all of them. I'll try to find some interesting topics to discuss. John says, I would totally buy possum water vodka. Get on that. I know. You wouldn't think that this little innocuous thing would have vodka in it, but it's possum water brand vodka. It hammers me. It's good. It's good stuff. Fire says, this is a YouTube stream, which of course means you listen to the podcast because I am an idiot. I don't know how to start things. I say welcome, and then something comes into my head and I say it. Sometimes it's that I'm going to entertain you with my face, which is a really strange thing to say, but I do say it sometimes. Blue light today. Need those glasses you're always slanging. I know. It's the blue is off-putting, and I'm going to have to figure out this setup a little better. Maybe it's because the clocks are going to get set forward or something. I don't know. but I don't think this kind of blue light is bad for my retinas. Juice says 30K closer to $1 million. Can we call you CH30K, says Chris. Lego Man says, finally made it when Chris is live. Well, thank you for being here. Possum brand liquor sounds like a winner to me, says TJ. Dustin says, is Gurley still the man? Forgive the pun. Obviously, you just said you listened to the podcast, so you've heard me hem and haw about Todd Gurley. I don't think anything has changed with Todd Gurley's ability. I think the Rams are correctly circumspect with running him to the ground and giving it to him 30 times the way they did before the end of last year when he proved that he was mortal. So we always knew that was going to happen. We always knew, frankly, it was going to be a good thing if the workload got limited. It was going to be better for his longevity. What we needed was for the Ram offensive line to continue to be good, and obviously that has not been the case. It's been very, very bad. I mean, it's bottom 5 in the league. Bengals, that's going to be a fun game on Sunday. Patriots, pretty bad, although they were better this week. Rams, Jets is not very good. But the idea the Rams would ever have been included in that is crazy, and obviously a massive constraining factor for a player who, A, I think is still the same, B, still completely in his prime, and C, next year, if they can fix the offensive line, there's probably going to evaluate him, because mark my words, next year, we're going to get to draft time. People are going to go, see, I told you, Todd Gurley's yards per carry was 3.6. I knew it. He's bad. And if they fix the offensive line, it'll go right back to being what it was, in my opinion. Willie says, what do you think about Paul Perkins? I think we don't know. Okay, so we just flat out don't know what the Lions are going to do. I was never a fan. I didn't love him in college. I didn't love him as a draft pick. I didn't love him with the Giants. But we don't know what's going to happen, so I would never completely devalue the possibility that they throw us a total curveball, and it isn't the rookie who winds up getting there's something about his pass protection, there's something about him or in the locker room or just interpersonally not ready for it. They tipped their hand to some degree when they gave it, once Kerryon Johnson was hurt this past week, they gave it to Ty Johnson, right? But Paul Perkins wasn't active, so I can't completely rule it out, but he never struck me as someone who I was in love with, to the point where I would be waiting with bated breath to see. But in a super deep league, if you just wanted to add him just in case, it had to be a super deep league and not dropping real players for him. But could we be convening on Monday, and could I be showing on the channel? Could I be showing Paul Perkins film? It's possible. It is. So it's not a terrible thought. I will say that. Okay, so we're deep into this thing. Let me say that, for example, if you have a quarterback question, I saw someone asking Cousins or Murray. Or if you have a running back to running back question, or if you have a wide receiver to wide receiver question. I don't have my own ranks memorized. I don't have a Rolodex of the 200 people that I ranked this week. But you can find those ranks. Just go to harrisfootball.com, click on ranks. You've got my opinion right there. Way better representation of my opinion than me going, I think I had Murray higher, but I could be wrong about that. It might have been Cousins. They were close. I know that. So if you have a single position question, harrisfootball.com, and really, even flex questions, look at Harris Football. I don't mind giving it a shot, but I did flexural healing today on the podcast. The difference is when I do flexural healing, it's not live. I've prepared remarks. I know who I'm going to talk about. I've looked at the ranks, and frankly, the video of me looking at ranks going for 5 minutes probably isn't that entertaining. If any of this could be said to be entertaining, the blue lit Harris. So ranks questions in general, I'll do my best, but single position ranks questions. Please look at harrisfootball.com. Josh says, is that a Contigo mug? That is a quality beverage container. It is a Contigo mug. It is quality. It's where I hold my Possum brand vodka. E61 says, where are you reading the questions from, Chris? So I have I'm reading from the live chat, but I can pause it. I'm looking at my laptop computer, and it gives me the live chat on the side. But if I do it on my phone, it doesn't pause forever. It's very frustrating. The boomer in me found that very frustrating. I'm very boomerlicious, as you all know. Chris says, is your opinion, Christopher says, good question. Is your opinion about Carson changing it like it did for Mac? I hate to sound like a stubborn boomer. So the midseason concern over Carson was very, very clearly ball security. There were 2 or 3 straight games where it looked like a real problem. That certainly changed. He's been bedrock solid. He's been great since then. As far as ability goes, it feels like truth in advertising. I don't know. I mean, I think I said a lot of the same things about Marshawn Lynch, and I was a late adopter in the Seattle incarnation of Marshawn Lynch, and it's not a bias against Seattle. I love Russell Wilson. I love lots of players in Seattle. I have over the years. It could just be that this kid is not a superior athlete and not fast and not a real cutter, but just so strong and tough and big and physical and has so much want to and just a little bit of vision and can kind of get it done without elite talent that my filters filter him out in a way that they shouldn't have. I might just have a blind spot for the kind of player that Chris Carson is. It's possible. But I'll say my honest answer to your question is I want to try to be forthright about it. No, the stuff that I've seen about Mac has felt to me like an archetype shift from this guy who's kind of soft, who bounces it to the outside every chance he gets, who's always trying to get a big play and not really trying to get 7 yards and take a big hit, to this year feeling like he's kind of grown up, that he's kind of he's a tough dude and he's taken a bunch of hits and he's gotten up. And I really like that change. And Carson, to me, doesn't feel like it's changed, but it's still effective. It's the second straight year it's effective. How could I mean, I'm ranking him high. How could I not acknowledge that it's been effective? It really isn't a paradigm shift in my mind, which I'm just trying to be honest. It may sound like I'm double talking a little and it may sound a little weaselly, but it's sort of, that's how I feel when I watch him. And it could just be confirmation bias. It could be. It's hard to, when you're inside your own bias, it's hard to know exactly what your bias is. I love the question. Let's see. There was a good one there that I missed. Paul Perkins' revenge game, Bobby says, hashtag the narrative. I like that. Dustin says, after last week, I might change my team name to Kissing Cousins. I like that too. Andrew says, please show the possum on the live stream. Thanks. You know, he is here today. Last time on Sunday, actually, he wasn't here. He'd spent a late Saturday night out, but he is here. He's just camera shy. He's not interested. He's not interested. Not interested. So, like, for example, Honey Badger, you're asking me about a flex question, but you're just asking 3 running backs. So I'm not going to answer because you can just go to Harris Football and look up my running back ranks, which I'm not trying to be a dink about it. I'm not trying to be a fart face. Really, I'm not. I don't know my own ranks, like, in perfect order. Reading them is such a better distillation of what my opinion is than having me try to remember the order in which I had number 40, 43, and 47 among running backs. You know what I'm saying? Psycho Mike says, what's your opinion on Olabisi Johnson tonight in PPR League? I have Diggs and need a quick fix. Well, if you have Diggs, I don't think you need a quick fix, do you? If you have Diggs, just play Diggs. My opinion on Olabisi Johnson is if you're very desperate for a 1-week ad, I can see it. I can see because I expect Adam Thielen not to play, but really, what do I know? He could play. We could get word that he's active in just a couple hours. We might find out he's active, and then I don't want Olabisi Johnson at all. And there's some logic that says, no, it's Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith who benefit. Olabisi Johnson's 1-yard touchdown last week was just a simple little misdirection where, I mean, it's the typical Adam Thielen play where you're like, Stephon Diggs did the work, Adam Thielen gets a touchdown, but I think there is some attraction for desperate Thielen owners in deeper leagues to using Johnson. But if you're a Diggs owner, I wouldn't consider Johnson a reason not to use Diggs, and I'm using Diggs always regardless. Montaigne says, Damian Harris got some burn last game. Your thoughts? Well, the burn that Damian Harris got was once Tom Brady was out of the game. So I don't have no thoughts on how he looked on film. There's no use. That game was a shutout that was way out of control, 30-0. So there's no thoughts there. He was active. That's better than it's been, but he's got a long way to go. CC says, Papa Smurf, because I'm blue. It's just so weird. It's a perfectly blue sky. I'm sitting in the same place I always sit. I have the blinds drawn behind me. I don't know what happened, but I guess it's darker in here than normal. Weird. Let's see. Graham says, bet proposed in my text thread. Tannehill scores more in fantasy than Cousins. I want to take that bet. Would you? I would take that bet for every single, like, are you talking about this week? Yes. Are you talking about the rest of the season? Yes. Take the bet. Take the bet. Take the bet. We have 7 years of Ryan Tannehill. An emailer today reminded me that it's 7 years of Ryan Tannehill. No, stop. What's different? Nothing's different. Yinka, how are you, Yinka? Just watched your Josh Jacobs YouTube and offered Gurley and Hopkins for Jacobs and Julio. Point per reception. Your thoughts? I like it. I mean, Gurley and Hopkins are great. Hopkins and Julio are probably a wash, and Jacobs and Gurley are probably pretty close. The question is I did that video, and then we found out that John Gruden thought that Josh Jacobs might not play this week, which doesn't feel as comfortable now that I did that video. The shoulder apparently still bothering him. From what I saw on watching film on the Green Bay game, it was the first series where he had a few amazing runs. He took a big hit. He missed like 3 plays on the next series, and everyone was like, uh-oh, and then he came right back in. And apparently what he was getting was a pain-killing injection in the locker room, and that kind of thing wears off. And he played very well thereafter, but who's to say? It's going to come down to pain management probably. I think he probably plays, but we don't really know. So that could color your feeling about if he doesn't play, if it's a separated shoulder, is he missing multiple games, then I wouldn't do the trade, but obviously information I don't have right now. Nathan says, hey, Harris, I love the pod. Would you go McLaren or Michelle for PPR flex? Keep up the great work. McLaren or Michelle? Michelle coming off the world's worst 3-touchdown game, and that includes Jordan Howard's 3-touchdown game from that Thursday night. The Michelle one was worse, no question. The Chase Edmonds was much better. He barely touched, but much better. Michelle against Cleveland or tonight with Terry McLaurin. I think it's a fair question to ask. I don't have a strong answer for you. It kind of comes down to your own sense of like how annoyed you're going to be if McLaren goes off. I'd say it feels real easy if I have viable options just not to use Patriot running backs because we get the 3-touchdown day and then we get 4 carries from him, right? But the usage, we can't legislate usage anyway, and we sure can't legislate it. Freaking Patriots running backs, my God. Maybe it's a reason to go with McLaurin tonight. There are touchdowns available for the Patriot running backs, no question. I'm okay either way, to be honest. Sometimes it just hurts people. It helps people to hear someone else talk about it out loud. I hope that helped a little bit. Sweet Victory says, what is the value of Christian McCaffrey? So, the value right now is that he's the most valuable player in fantasy, and I probably wouldn't let him go for anything unless, despite McCaffrey's amazing performance to this point, my team was struggling because I got a lot of duds elsewhere. I got a lot of injured guys. I got a lot of, just player people, Joe Mixon's, people who haven't performed the way we thought they would. In which case, I would trade the horse for ponies, which I hate doing, but we are at that time of year where you go, okay, McCaffrey, you're great, but I can't win with you. So let's see if I can catch lightning in a bottle and get 3 players for you and revamp this lineup. I'm fine with that. I get that. It's not what I would prefer to do, but that's, And then also there still lingers the question of, I think the Panthers themselves have known by seeing McCaffrey limping off the field and not being able to finish one game because of cramps and being ineffective in a couple of games against Tampa. I think they know that they're this little guy, they're running into the ground, and I think they would like to have him for his career. I think he's set up for a short career the way they're using him. Just players that size. I mean, he could be Barry Sanders, but unless he's Barry Sanders, I just feel like you're getting the Steve Slayton career out of him. You're getting the little guy getting run to the ground career out of him. So I'm hopeful he stays healthy. That's all I can say because it's been amazing. It's been so fun to watch. I'm hopeful he stays healthy. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got from the Blue Man? From the Blue Man group. Brushing for Greatness says smash the like button, and I agree. We have 217 people in here, and we have 65 likes. I mean, come on. All right, I'm on strike until we get to 120 likes. I'm on strike. And if you're on mobile, all you have to do is close the chat. The like button will appear once you close the chat. Hit the like, and then reopen the chat. You won't lose a thing. We're at 84 already. I probably said 120 was probably too low, but I'll do it at 120. I'm on strike until 120. A 99, I mean, obviously I went too low. clearly, but whatever. I'm at 119 already. I'm at 123. I already got there. You can stop liking. Actually, instead of liking, you know what you could do? You see the little bell? Hit that. If you're not already subscribed, hit that bell. Subscribe. That helps us. It actually really does. Not just because then you'll see future videos of ours, because obviously that depends on how frequently you come back to YouTube, but actually the algorithm for YouTube, the video will get more boosted and more popular if subscriptions happen during that video. They measure that. Oh, this video got 17 subscribers. Like I can see you guys subscribing. Thank you. So if you hit that little bell and subscribe, it'll actually help the channel. This is how we get to 30,000 subscribers, not just because you're subscribing, because other people like the channel once they discover it. There are people watching this video right now who have no idea that I do a podcast. There are people who are watching this video right now who found me via YouTube and not via the podcast. I appreciate all of you. I do a podcast 5 days a week, by the way. Honk says, higher ceiling, Ronald Jones or Mark Walton? I would probably say whichever one doesn't play for the Dolphins probably has a higher ceiling because, hey, the Dolphins were better. They could have won that game. Mark Walton played okay. Like, Kenyon Drake's involved, but I felt like the first 3 quarters, while Miami was competitive, it was much more Walton than Drake. But still, how many touchdowns are really out there for me if I'm a Walton owner? Rojo, of course, we know he's getting half the work, but there's a chance, there's a better chance on a more functional offense. The floor is probably awful for both of them. I think probably Rojo a little more upside. Steve S. Lyons said, no more blueberries, Harris. Possum water only. Hey, man, I'm hammered. This is vodka. This is great. The possum makes this himself. Did I mention that? Did I mention that the possum water vodka actually comes from the possum's own distillery? It's a pain. I'll just tell you right now. It's a pain because we have to leave the high seas from, we're on the yacht, obviously, and we have to disembark in LA proper and go down into the Arts District to his distillery where he's got the whole new business going, the possum water vodka business. It's so frustrating. It's such a long trip. And it's like he just goes in and he surveys the equipment and he nods. He doesn't know what he's looking at. This is all about, it's a lifestyle brand for him. He's just slapping his name on it. He's got nothing to do with the creation of the vodka. He tastes it. But really, I mean, it's a big hassle for me personally. But I like the possum water vodka, so no more blueberries, only vodka. Here we go. Mac says, what is AJ Green's value? You removed him from the rest of the season ranks. It's true, I did. Because I feel like we're getting yanked around, and I think we now have to consider, if we're going to think about the expected – you guys hear that? Do you hear the sirens on the yacht? I hope they're not pulling the yacht over. You hear that? It's pretty loud. Man, I hope the yacht's not on fire. There's fire engines down there. I can see from the pinnacle of the yacht. I can see the fire engines. AJ Green. So I clearly am hammered. AJ Green, I think if we're going to think about the expected value of any given player, like the percent chance this happens times the value of that thing happening, add things all together. For a long time, we weren't considering the possibility that AJ Green just doesn't play this year. Guess what? I think it's on the table. And I think averaging in that possibility into the rest of his expected value made me think, you know what? I'm not saying you have to drop AJ Green because I'm only ranking 100 players in the rest of the season ranks that you can also find on harrisfootball.com, by the way. And so what I'm saying is I don't need to trade for him. I don't consider him above replacement level-ish right now. If I get word that he's going to play, of course, I think, if he gets traded to the Patriots, which Sanu got traded to the Patriots, so I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But, there would be value in knowing that he's going to play. But right now, him probably feeling like this clown show organization that got him hurt practicing the first day at some ridiculous non-NFL quality field and then botched the messaging behind his recovery to make him look soft, thinking, oh, he's going to miss a week or two, and now it's week 8 and he's not close. And the trade deadline's coming up and he's a free agent at the end of the year, and why not just get the hell out of Dodge? I think it's a possibility now. I'm not trying to say it's what's going to happen, but it was definitely what was going through my mind as I was deciding to go, you know what, let's give him a rest in this top 100 stuff. I think I'm done. That was the thought. Might be wrong. Let's see. Kevin Coleman is a turkey mayo, says Fire. Kevin Coleman? Now, Kevin Coleman is a perfectly good tax attorney. I take offense at calling him a turkey mayo. Hey, let's talk sponsor. Can we for a second? I know, but ExpressVPN, they're good to us. ExpressVPN. Okay, so I now have ExpressVPN. I'm using ExpressVPN to live stream this thing. I use a VPN now at home in my home network. I got the bejesus scared out of me about using VPNs. Do we all know what VPNs are? Basically, it's a thing that you can send your device, your phone or your laptop through that sends you out to another server so that your data is private. Your people can't hack you as easily. There's the security aspect of having a VPN. There's also maybe I'm a pirate, Avasky scurvy dogs. You can also pirate certain things if you have a VPN that you can't do if not. I'll leave it at that. But suffice to say, if you like NFL Game Pass, for example, I'm not trying to say anything, but you could maybe do that. I didn't say that. But ExpressVPN, I go to coffee shops a lot, especially in the off season. I'll write in a coffee shop or I'll watch film in a coffee shop. I'll just sort of get out of the yacht. And I'll just blithely log into their Wi-Fi and be like, doop. And then I had a friend who logged into the Wi-Fi of an airplane. And by the time he landed, he actually had his credit card numbers stolen because somebody who was on the plane with him on the same network did some magic that I don't understand and hacked him. And that scared the bejesus out of me. And I wasn't smart enough to do anything about it until ExpressVPN sponsored. But then I realized this is so ridiculously easy. It's one little piece of software. I click a button and I am nobody can get me. I go to the coffee shop now and I'm good. I'm fine. So expressvpn.com/Harris. I think $7 a day. I think $7 a month. I think it's $7 a month. Yeah, so I can't remember. $7 a something. It is. I'm logged in right now. I don't think I can. I'm looking to see if I can. $7 a day. $7 a month. I'm sorry, ExpressVPN. And plus, if you sign up for a year, you get 3 months free at expressvpn.com/Harris. If you've been thinking about getting a VPN, a lot of us who are online a lot, or you go to public places and need Wi-Fi, we know we should. It's a good opportunity to do it. I can't share my screen, I just realized, or at least I don't know how because I'm too much of a boomer. But ExpressVPN, that's now how this thing is running through ExpressVPN. It's fantastic. I feel more secure, and there may or may not be some I'm a pirate aspects to it too. Okay. Let's see. We got Simon says, let's definitely give us your thoughts on Larry Fitzgerald. My thoughts are that Larry Fitzgerald has got really great hands, but that the Arizona offense is surprisingly not all that exciting for its receivers in that it spreads it around a lot and that it's really not going down the field at all. And it feels to me like they've gotten kind of easy to defend. Last week was a kind of a weather game, so I'm not going to go too crazy. The Saints are a tough matchup. Fitzgerald does what he does. He's the only receiver right now I'm interested in there, but my interest is flagging a little bit because the reins are so much on Kyler Murray. It's gross. So I am kind of there are probably touchdowns out there for him. A few. The Chase Edmonds rushing randomly through everybody, untouched is probably not going to happen every week. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So I'm getting a lot of messages about Keenan Allen hurting his hamstring in practice. Well, that's a bummer. Start Mike Williams. I can't react because I don't know anything about it yet. But if true, if he's missing games, it's the Bears. It's a pretty good defense. I'm not going to elevate Mike Williams into Keenan Allen territory, but he probably gets elevated. And Hunter Henry already was you're starting in every league. So yeah, that's a bummer. Love Keenan Allen. Don't like to see him hurt. 9 a.m. EST. Life tip. Never use airplane's Wi-Fi. No, what I'm saying is if you have ExpressVPN, you're good. Derek says, hunk by a sub. Derek has obviously been with me a long time. I get that joke. Not that many other people get that joke. Fire says, very possum now. John says, are you worried about Nick Chubb with Kareem Hunt ready to come back from suspension in a couple of weeks? I think your bed is probably made. I don't think we know enough for us to be able to say, and now is the moment you must sell Nick Chubb. So worry is a relative term, right? Worry is a relative term. Do I have some worry? Yep, I do. I mean, I'm going to guess that the Browns probably know the general state of Keenan Allen's health in regards to his sports hernia surgery, but I'm going to guess they're not going to tell us for a while. So they may already be like, great that we have him. Nice to have it in our back pocket. We got, maybe if we make the playoffs, we got a long way to go to do that. But maybe if we make the playoffs, he can help us. But that dude's not healthy. Maybe. Or maybe they're like, everyone's tired. Nick Chubb is handling too much workload. We have a way to vary this. Let's mix this thing up. Kareem Hunt, you're going to be in there for half the work. Like, I don't know. It's on the radar, and it's part of the. Sure, I'm concerned, but I think I have Nick Chubb everywhere, and I would say I don't have Hunt everywhere. Frankly, I don't know if having Hunt, unless Chubb gets hurt, really helps me if I'm a Chubb owner. Really, it's much more a matter of a split job that you're worried about, and I feel like my die is cast in no league with how well that guy's played, despite a pretty bad offensive line. Another one that I could have added to the list earlier. And quarterback not playing well and all that stuff, given how well Chubb has looked, how good he's looked, how well he's played. I'm not going to do anything with him. I'm just going to sort of ride it out and live with it. Probably. Let's see. Michael says, in a PPR, should I go Hunter Henry or Sony Michel? I can answer this one because this was a subject of the Flexible Healing today, and the crossover that I gave you for Hunter Henry for sure was above Sony Michel. I would play Hunter Henry, even against the Bears. PB says, let's get a tour of the yacht. Should I just grab the camera and walk around the yacht? I don't think that's going to happen. You can tell, though, that it's a very still yacht. You can see that's really Los Angeles in the background. That's not a backdrop. That's really Los Angeles. Like, see, it's a window. That's Los Angeles out there. So the yacht is very stable. It's very stable. Like, no, we don't get a lot of this. It's just so huge is what. Just such a big yacht that it looks like we're not floating because we're not doing that at all. That's what it comes down to. Denveloper says, at Harris Football, you're ranked number 1 above me for live football. You're ranked 1 above me for live football. Congratulations. Oh, okay. Oh, say cool. We run the search on YouTube. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad. Thank you. Chris says, I'm hoping for a Magic Hunt trade situation and both have value. So in other words, that Kareem Hunt gets traded. I don't think that's going to happen. Jim says, congrats on 30K. Oh, thank you, Jim. W4R Nerver. Harris, my dude, love the videos and the live streams, but your intro, outro music gets stuck in my head and ruins my day. I'm sorry. You know who that is? That's Quiet Company. That's a real band. They're friends of mine. They're from Austin. And I have to say, if you don't know Quiet Company and you like sort of rock music, it's not, it's more alternative. It's not hip hop influenced. It's not dreamy, poppy, sleepy music that's very popular among everybody but me. Man, you should know Quiet Company. They are absolutely fantastic. They're wonderful guys. I play cards with them whenever I go to Austin. They kick some serious tush. They are great. They have 2 or 3 records, like album-length records. They've mostly been putting out EPs lately, like a few songs at a time, which are great also. I would recommend any of them. I recommend any downloads from Quiet Company, but their LPs, holy cow, blow doors. The T-Mac says, what realistic stat line do you see Landry getting against the Pats? To some degree, I'm not your guy. I'm not a projections person. I'm not gonna go, the Patriots typically allow this many receptions to slot receivers. And Landry, against press coverage, a lot of man, typically gets this much. Like, in the end, I don't feel like those projections are worth, I don't know, much. I don't mean to slam anybody who does them, but it's not my bag. I feel like we're better off just giving sort of in our minds the range of possible outcomes. And with Landry, the range of possible outcomes is usually, I'm going to throw it to him 6 or 7 times. Probably not too many more than that. And probably only one of them will be more than 10 yards downfield. The rest of them are going to be check downs or crossing routes or, like plays against zone where it's a little soft. You're not checking down, but you just see that the defense is soft. So it's like 6 for 60, and then you hope for a touchdown. But Jarvis Landry is a fantastic player and can make 120 yards out of 6 catches. He can get loose, no question about it. It's a tough defense to do that against. But I think that, that's with Landry, you're looking at a fairly safe floor, a fairly low ceiling. It's sort of the lament of the slot receiver. Jarrett says, DJ Chark or Tevin Coleman, a.k.a. the Turkey Mayo. People who watch this channel and don't listen to the podcast have no idea. There's so much vernacular. I said on the podcast yesterday that I wanted somebody to write in if it was the first episode they were ever listening to, because I got so far up my own butthole with like terminology and stuff that I was like, oh my God, this is incomprehensible to people who have not heard the show before. And I got 0 emails. So there you go. So YouTube people, I'm sorry for the references. You have no idea what we're talking about. Would I start DJ Chark or would I start Turkey Mayo? Tevin Coleman. I think I would, there's an argument for both. I think I would start Chark. Feels to me like Chark has more upside. I feel comfortable saying that. And then is the floor really safer for Coleman knowing that Breida's there? I think I would start Chark, but it's a fair question. It's a fair point. Diego, who likes to rag on me because he's a nice guy. Man, that Diego. I just want to mention about Diego Lopez, who's sitting right there. When we were starting up this YouTube channel, did Diego Lopez turn up his nose at us? Did he refuse to give us help or advice? No, he did not. In fact, he talked with Dave Piper at length about this channel, giving us production advice because he's a very nice human being. Thank you, Diego. He asks, Hollywood Brown, do you think he regains wide receiver 2 value once he comes back? I mean, I don't really have any way of I'm not sure I ever considered him wide receiver 2. Did I have him? I might have had him that high, close to like 24 in the rest of the season ranks. I guess I might have done. Here's the thing. I don't think that offense wants a fantasy wide receiver 2. It's not. They're just this notion that like people were spiking the football that after the first 2 weeks, Lamar Jackson had turned into a complete quarterback. The lie has certainly been put to that. That's not what he is. It's not what he's trying to be. The offense is not trying to be that. He is good enough that he can punish you if you spy him with 4 players as a runner, right? And in a way that I think maybe Josh Allen isn't, right? Lamar Jackson is competent to that level. But if a defense is playing him relatively honest, he's got some accuracy problems. He's got some field reading problems. And I think the Ravens know it. I think the play calling is so much about confusing the defense, running all kinds of weird options. They had that play against Seattle early where he threw it to Miles Boykin 50 yards down the field or whatever off of a fake pitch out, a rollout where he would typically run. He pulls up and throws it. I mean, that's going to be mostly against real defenses his best play right now in his career. So any receiver on that team, it's like Marquise Brown's best case is let's be Deshaun Jackson. His relative Deshaun Jackson? No, relative Antonio Brown. Sorry, my mistake. Probably at this point be better to be related to Deshaun Jackson. It's in the name, Antonio Brown. Marquise Brown's in the name. Probably should have put that together. So I'll say no. I'll say, probably there'll be weeks where you're psyched to have him, and in certain lineups where you're getting really steady production from everybody, cool. But in lineups where you're like, please give me something every week, you're going to be frustrated because I don't think that's what the Raven offense is. One Kill says, Austin is a nightmare to live in now. I'm sorry to hear that. I lived there most recently for like a 3-month stretch in 2015? Can't remember. Maybe 2016. But I lived right downtown on Congress, or right off of Congress, like 800 Congress-ish. So like right downtown. And it was still pretty fun, but I get it. The traffic is bad now. I saw a funny one. Let's see if I can block an idiot. Okay, that was fun. Let's keep going. No kicker, says JD. Andrew says, do you see Emmanuel Sanders' addition to the 49ers will help free Kittle by drawing top coverage? Of course, this is the basis of probably the original crutch arguments. So for the purposes of people who discovered me on YouTube and don't know all the crap that I say on the podcast, What's a crutch argument? Briefly, I'm sorry, podcast people, but briefly, I'll do it briefly. A crutch argument is basically something that you use when you're trying to hobble along your argument as best you can, but actually the argument could be used against you just as well as towards you, in favor of your argument as against. So, and the derivation is, I used to sit in the ESPN rankings room every spring and listen to people give their justifications for why they liked players, and within a 10-minute span, I would hear two different people use the same argument for a reason to like the player and then a different player to not like the player. And it would make me crazy. And I started talking about crutch arguments at ESPN, and it's blossomed into a whole thing, and it's part of the almanac, and we talk about it on the podcast a lot. And the very original crutch argument was this notion that getting another receiver automatically helps the receiver already on that team or already hurts the receiver automatically already on that team. And you can understand arguing either side, because on the one hand, as we just said, George Kittle has to worry, the person covering George Kittle now has to cover Emmanuel Sanders. It's better for George Kittle. Okay, but the person who wants to argue the other side could say, fewer targets for George Kittle, there's another good receiver there. The bottom line is the sheer fact of Emmanuel Sanders going to the 49ers doesn't definitionally mean anything. We're going to have to see. This is another offense that's awfully run-focused and seems very comfortable being that way. Maybe that's been partly out of necessity because they haven't trusted the receivers, but I don't think so. They've thrown when they've needed to. I don't feel like they've wanted to all that much. And again, that could be total BS. Me, imputing reasons behind why plays were called. Maybe they're not calling passes on first down because Emmanuel Sanders wasn't on their team, right? That's possible. So I don't think Kittle's value definitionally changes by Sanders' presence, because it could get better because fewer double teams, and it could get worse because fewer targets. That's the bottom line. Irvindo says, do you think Drew Brees is back this week? I have no way of knowing. You'll know when I know. We all read the same stuff. Every expert, every injury expert who talks about this stuff, they're reading the same stuff you're reading. Gone are the days when that information is kept any sort of private. The only people who are going to find out are my friend Adam Schefter and then, Ian Rappaport, the usual suspects. They're going to actually talk to somebody who will tell them real stuff. And even then, Adam Schefter got lied to about David Johnson. Maybe not lied to, but the feeling of David Johnson being healthy last week was minimized by whoever talked to Adam Schefter. I think that is fair to say. They probably did not expect David Johnson to be out of the game right away. They only had two running backs active. And maybe they didn't. Maybe there's no lying involved. Maybe they just couldn't possibly have known. He wasn't being honest about his own injury, all that. So I don't mean to, but just to say, even when Schefter reports it, sometimes it winds up not being true, and Schefter knows his stuff. So truth is, I don't know. We're going to find out together about Drew Brees. Let's see. Adam says, has Aaron Rodgers turned a corner? I never thought he needed to turn a corner. The production obviously got better this past week, but if you listen to the show, listen to the podcast, you've heard me say every week, this is about weapons. This is about guys coming through for him. It's heartening that a few of the guys came through this past week, but it was also weird. Sort of a weird game where they got a lot of possessions, and then towards the end, the Raiders kept turning it over, and they kept throwing touchdowns. And, I think in the end, if you don't have Devontae Adams, we're not going to have the Aaron Rodgers that we wish we were going to get when I ranked him QB 1 or 2. I didn't rank him 1. QB 2 this offseason. He needs Adams eventually to get to that point. But at some point, I don't care. At some point, I have Rodgers on a couple of teams, and he starts every week because he's great. And it just comes down to, do those ancillary receivers step up? They certainly had not previously, but they did against Oakland for sure. Joey says, nice view. Max says, is Jared Cook a buy low with Drew Brees coming back? I don't think so. I just think our lives have taught us what Jared Cook is, and last year was weird, and now Darren Waller is getting the same treatment, and I think Darren Waller is a significantly better player than Jared Cook. So, no, I don't think he's a buy low. I think, Cook has a chance to be part of the low-level tight end starters, but it's been a long time since Jimmy Graham in New Orleans. It's been a long time since people were cursing at me on Twitter because I wasn't allowing the human brain fart Coby Fleener enough credit because wasn't Breeze going to automatically make it his tight end a star. You know, it's been 3 or 4 years. I just don't feel like it's an automatic, so I don't trust the player that much. Before we get going, let me mention ExpressVPN one more time. I'll do it at length. But if you're interested in what I said earlier about ExpressVPN, about having a VPN for security, virtual private network, basically it cloaks you. It makes it harder for hackers to find you. Your personal data can't get mined by Amazon or whomever and eventually turned around and, you know, suddenly you're getting ads for weird crap. I'm running a VPN right now. I'm running ExpressVPN right now. It costs $7 a month. It's truly low cost. Plus, we can get you a better deal than that because if you sign up for a year at expressvpn.com/Harris, you will get 3 months for free. I did it. I am now signed up. If you work in a coffee shop or an airplane or anything like that where you're logging into a public Wi-Fi, you should have a VPN. You should have an ExpressVPN. It's very, very cheap. It's the cost of doing business right now. Write it off. Tell your boss to pay for it. Get expressvpn.com/Harris. Get 3 months free on a full year subscription, $7 a month. And I don't want to say you could be a pirate, but you know, when your IP address is masked, you have a way of finding stuff to view that maybe you didn't pay for necessarily. I'm just going to leave it at that. expressvpn.com/Harris. Okay, let's keep going. No inside information on AJ Green, Joey. No inside information. Tim says, yes, poop. Keenan Allen was held out of Thursday's practice with a hamstring injury. That is poopy. I agree. What do you think of Mike Williams with the Keenan Allen injury? I mean, I don't want to jump the gun because we don't know the extent of the injury. Did he hurt it in practice? Was it just bugging him a little bit? Let's find out. But if you stipulated to me that no, Keenan Allen, and we were sure he was out, which by the time by the time anybody watching this in arrears may already know that that's the case. You all may already know that's the case. I'm obviously not able to check the live updates right now. I would say Mike Williams goes higher in my ranks. He doesn't get up to Keenan Allen level. He's not the kind of route runner. He needs to be physical to get open. He needs to be kind of covered, but Phillip Rivers takes a chance and throws it to him to be open. That's true of Hunter Henry as well. That's not a great style to be covered by Chicago Bears because they're awfully physical. They're pretty much right in your face. But Mike Williams will go up in the ranks for sure. He's not going to be a must start. He's going to be in the 20s, early 20s, something like that. There's a lot of receivers to use if Keenan Allen is completely out. Let's see. Michael says, of course Harris is a pirate. How do you think he got the yacht? Well, we have a sound drop of me saying I'm a pirate on the podcast, I'm pretty sure. I haven't played in a long time, though. Let's see. Professor says, who do you think has the higher upside, Kenny Stills or Chase Edmonds? You know, it's hard for me to answer it this way because Chase Edmonds just showed you 3 touchdown upside. I think Kenny Stills has the better upside, I think, because he's Will Fuller. He's the downfield receiver in that offense, I think. You know, there's no Will Fuller. Chase Edmonds is a much harder matchup against the Saints. And we're not positive about the workload because last week when the Cardinals against the Giants, there were no other running backs. So I'll say Stills has more upside. Of course, having more upside also means you can go 2 catches for 17 yards, and Chase Edmonds probably not going to do that bad, right? So he's probably safer, but I think Stills probably has more upside. Yarr, says Advantage Services. Chris is a pirate. Yarr, indeed. Shelton says, do you predict an uptick in David Montgomery's usage since Matt Nagy is, quote, not an idiot, end quote, and taking over offensive play calling? I don't think the problem is the play calling. I don't think the problem is they're using Tariq Cohen too much. I would like to see them use him more, frankly, in different ways. I don't think they're throwing it too much or anything like that. I think they're bad on offense. I think Mitch Trubisky is bad. Is it possible for a running back to be good with a bad quarterback? Of course it is. 100% it is. 100%. If the running back is really good. Is David Montgomery really good? Have I seen anything that makes me think David Montgomery's really good? I know the Bears beat reporters were telling us he was Herschel Walker in preseason, but boy, I'll tell you, remember that first Green Bay game? I did a video where I showed a cut where Montgomery pitter-patters his feet before he can make the cut. I think he's a bruiser. I think he's got the Jordan Howard thing down. I haven't seen an indication yet that he's a really great accelerator or really great cutter or really anything more than Jordan Howard. And so I don't think that am I open to the idea that something changes and players' fortunes then change? I 100% am. That can happen. Am I ready to make an adjustment in my ranks for Dave Montgomery for the rest of the season based on Matt Nagy being named play caller? Very clearly not. Because the problem in the end comes down to it's easy to defend the run when the quarterback stinks. And the quarterback has stunk. He really stunk again last week. He was awful. So I think they got to get more functional for anybody to feel like they're going to score a lot of touchdowns in that offense. James says, when is the yacht party? Well, it's not a yacht party, but for people in Los Angeles, I am having a gathering of listeners and viewers on YouTube. It's this Saturday. That's the 26th at 3 p.m. Pacific, obviously, at the Golden Gopher in downtown Los Angeles on 8th Street in downtown Los Angeles. And I would love to see you there. It's going to be me and people I don't know. I think some people I know will come. I hope. Otherwise, it might be me sitting there by myself. But if you're in LA, and you're not doing anything Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m., the Golden Gopher in downtown Los Angeles. I would love to meet you. Did you mention your hangout to LA tomorrow to viewers here yet? I just did. Yay. Thanks, Alex. Oh, no, thanks, Andrew. If you're asking me a single position question, if you're asking me quarterback, I know you're probably just coming in here now late. Go to harrisfootball.com. I've got ranks there for you. I don't have them memorized. That's a much better answer than me spouting out maybe what I remember of my ranks here. We are at 183 likes. I know we can get to 200. I know that we can get to 200 likes. I'm sure of it. And I'm going to pause here momentarily at the end until we get to 200 likes. We're at 184. That was quick. We got one. 189. If you're on mobile, close the chat. There's a little like button. Hit that. Reopen the chat. You're good. 190. We can get to 200. We can get to 200. I'm sure of it. 198. And 203. We did it. We all did it together is what we did. We all did it together. I love it. Let's see. We got J.D. McKissick or Mike Williams in PPR. I think either way it would be Mike Williams. And now if Keenan Allen's really missing time, then I think I would play him. Gary says, rest of the season bet, Josh Allen or Sam Darnold. For fantasy, I'll say Josh Allen. If I were starting a franchise, Sam Darnold. It's the same way that I say, people right now go, who do you want for your NFL franchise, Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson? I want Baker Mayfield. I think it's hard to win a Super Bowl playing like Lamar Jackson plays. But he's great and super fun for fantasy. He is the cheat code, and Josh Allen's the cheat code a little bit too. But that's, the cheat code matters for fantasy, so I'll say Allen for the rest of the season. Justin says, what is the new book that you are editing about? So actually it's edited, and fortunately my editor didn't crush me too bad, so the fixes were pretty easy. It's a novel. It's about a guy who quits the internet and quits his job and moves to Tahoe to become a bartender and doesn't have a phone and doesn't have the internet, and then adventures ensue. He meets up with other like-minded people, and they live that way, trying to be separate from this thing that is connecting us right now, but in some ways feels like it doesn't connect us that much at all. If anybody ever read Generation X by Douglas Copeland, although I'm a boomer, obviously, I would never read it. But if you read Generation X, which I really love, it's one of my favorite books. I love it. And it's kind of an update of that. That book takes place right before the internet happened. So it's about people dropping out of consumer culture and moving to a resort town, but it's a different resort town, Palm Springs. This is sort of a conscious update of that. Same people doing the same thing, but instead they're dropping out of internet culture and they're going to Tahoe instead. So we'll see. We'll see how I do. Let's see what we got. Flex Tevin Coleman or Ty Johnson? See, Mr. M, that's a running back question that you're dressing it up as a flex question. Go to harrisfootball.com, look up the running back ranks. You're golden. You're a Johnny-come-lately if you don't know about the lawnmower noise. That's true. Now, I'm not recording the show in Amherst, so there's no lawnmowers. But when I'm in Amherst, it sure happens. Matthew says, are Daryl Henderson / Malcolm Brown even worth owning as a handcuff to Gurley in that offense? It's a really good question. I don't know, because if it were one of them, probably, because that's we need starting running back jobs. They're pretty infrequent. But if it was both of them, I mean, Malcolm Brown's not playing this week, but they have a bye week and he'll be back. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel that way right now to me. I'll tell you right now, if you told me stipulate Gurley's out of the league and Brown and Henderson are both playing, could I get either guy in my top 25 running backs? I mean, it would be Henderson. I like him a lot better, but I would have to see something. It's a real good question because that offensive line is just bad right now. It's depends on your league. In a shallow league, probably not. Probably you don't have to handcuff them. Okay, so if you're asking, Michelle, I see your question. If you're asking about your quarterback question, I really don't have my ranks memorized. I don't mean to be a jerk about it. I want to acknowledge that you're asking the question, but I don't have the ranks memorized. So go to harrisfootball.com and you'll see who I have ranked higher. That's the best I can do because it's like 200 people and I did them like 2 days ago. So I don't remember who I would have higher. T Soda Pop. I found quite a few Patriots footy pajamas. I hope someone sends you one so we can see you in them. You may have just have nominated yourself. HeyHarris@harrisfootball.com. Email me. James says, I'm East Coast. Let me know when you come to New England. Yourself and your yacht are welcome in Newport, Rhode Island. Well, thanks, James. Newport, Rhode Island is lovely. I have my house is in Amherst, Mass, so I'm there in the summer. Adam says, even the footy pajamas must admit that if week 4 is an indication, the Bills have a chance to beat the Patriots in week 16. Yeah, the Patriots are not a super team. The people are wrong and get carried away. It's so funny to hear people talk about the Patriots because they go, all right, the schedule hasn't been great and we'll see what happens when they play people. But did you realize they're outscoring people by this? I mean, that's amazing. You don't do that against just anybody. And it's like all fruit of the poisonous tree. You're all just ignoring the first thing you said, which is they haven't played anybody. They've played terrible quarterbacks. Of course that defense is going to look good, Sam. Now, they're really good. They're really, really good. But of course when they play Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, maybe Baker Mayfield this week, and Pat Mahomes, and of course they're going to give up points. Of course they are. It's silly, right? I mean, they're not this amazing super team that's going to go 16-0, I don't believe. Eden says, has Stephon Diggs reestablished himself as a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, or should be owners looking to sell? If so, what's the appropriate piece? I would say no, probably not wide receiver. Probably not, my rest of the season ranks, I don't have Diggs right now where I had him in the almanac, before the season started. I don't. Because what we saw, the big complaint with Stephon Diggs owners the first month was, they never throw. How can you like anybody in that offense when Adam Thielen's guaranteed to score and nobody else is ever going to get any targets because they only want to run? That's what that analysis is stupid, and you hear it everywhere, and you just have to go blah, 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 blah. It's circumstance, it's game flow, it's what defenses are doing. No offense in the NFL right now only wants to run. That's not the way the NFL works anymore. There's always going to be targets available. There's 30 attempts out there for every single quarterback just about every week, depending on game flow. Every so often Russell Wilson will have 22, but mostly it's 30. And if there's 30, then my guy Diggs or my guy Thielen is mostly going to eat. But I will admit, that first month chastened me a little bit, that it's a possibility that they could have some games where they run a little more than I'm comfortable with. So I lowered Diggs a little bit, but he was a great buy low. I hope people bought low on him. I don't feel like you need to sell him because I think he's great. And because you got the game tonight where no Thielen, I hope there's some work for him there. And I think you're still going to get 6 games worth Diggs gets work done. So I feel comfortable. I have him everywhere. I feel comfortable hanging on. I kind of ruled out the high-level wide receiver 1 part of that question, but if you told me high wide receiver 2, I could see myself working into that. I can't remember in the rest of the season ranks. You can find on harrisfootball.com where I have them ranked, but it's probably not that far away from that, to be honest. we got 2 dislikes. I love it. Jonathan says, I can't read audiobooks. Oh yeah, all of my novels are in audiobooks, and in fact, Audible is not sponsoring today, but Audible is a sponsor, so I'll mention if you go to audible.com/Harris, I think it is, you can get a free book and you can take one of mine. All 4 of my novels are currently in audiobook format, and my mouth said them. They are there. Let's see. Let's wrap it up with a few more. Jake says, thanks, you're the best in the business. You're welcome. Brita is in the ranks now. Thank you, Jim. Indeed. Dalvin Cook, worth playing against that stout Washington run defense, says Halstead. Definitely play Dalvin Cook. David says, how do you feel about owning a running back and a wide receiver from the same team? Diggs and Cook, Carry-On and Galladay, etc. Carry-On no longer affects my feelings about owning Galladay, but your point is well made. My feeling is, if it's the right two players, if it was Gurley and Cooks last year, I'll love it. And in the case of Cook and Diggs, I'm in. I'm fine. I'm good. It depends on the pair, because you know the deal. Basically, it's how that offense goes, and that offense being a really good offense that scores a lot of touchdowns becomes way more important because you need both guys to partake, because there can be some cannibalism. So you want the pie to be bigger because their respective pieces of the pie in any given week have a chance to be smaller. So it really depends on the teammates, depends on the team. The Viking offense the last 3 weeks has been great for it. I think the first month people were saying that was stupid, right? And so now things change. I think the Vikings offense is pretty good. I don't feel too bad about that pairing, I'll say. Let's see. Cousin Josh is the man, says Jim. I agree. Cousin Josh is the man. One more. Halstead says, are you better at cornhole or fantasy football? I'm definitely better at cornhole. Definitely better, because fantasy football is like half random. The way I play cornhole, it ain't random. Tim says, how are you feeling about David Johnson the rest of the season with that ankle injury? I'll wrap up with this one. I'm feeling like if he was close enough that he played last week and then, tweaked himself, it doesn't feel to me like it's a massive worry that we're talking multi-week injury, but that's of course BS. Like, I don't really know. He could have been toughing out something that should be a month, and if it winds up being a month, there's more risk. And if you're a very risk-averse fantasy owner, you want to deal him, you're trading him away at a reduced value. He's a distressed asset. So I would feel somewhat concerned about doing that. My tendency right now is to think it's probably okay, and that by the time you really need him come playoff push and or in the playoffs, that he'll be playing. But what do I know? I don't know. It could be really bad. I still, as you'll see in the ranks, I still have David Johnson ranked as an RB1 for the rest of the season. You can find him on harrisfootball.com. But again, we're all kind of dealing with the same information. I don't know any more about the ankle than you do. All right, this was a blast. Thank you. I like doing this with you guys. Appreciate it. ExpressVPN, thank you. If anybody was thinking about getting a VPN, it would help us out a lot if you use the code or the URL, expressvpn.com/Harris. That's it. I'm going to go do some podcast stuff. I'm going to do a YouTube video tonight that'll be posted in the morning, and Cousin Josh on the podcast tomorrow, mid-season Huggy Awards, but more importantly, mid-season Baggy Awards. Be prepared to laugh and be blown away. We'll talk to you then. Thank you. Bye. See ya.